Let's go ahead and I'll just count down and we'll wing it. How's that sound?
Okay.
5, 4, 3, 2. Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 4 of the Prairie Lights podcast. My name is Matt. Not joining me this evening is my co-host, Joshua Wexelman. We have discovered that apparently my recording software does not work with his strange Skype cell phone setup. So until we get that figured and sorted out, I guess it's just going to be me solo for the foreseeable future. But tonight we do have a special guest, Mr. Benito Garcia. How are you doing today, sir?
Woohoo, yeah! Oh, man, everybody's so excited that I'm here.
Yeah, I know. You're going to have to sort of be co-host with me, I guess.
All right, cool.
Yeah, so Josh not being here has thrown my entire script out the window. I don't really know what to do. I have nothing to bounce off of. So tonight we're going to talk to Benito a little bit about his film history, the 2 films he's world premiering at Prairie Lights this October, as well as a bunch of others. So whatever comes to mind. We can literally talk about anything.
Oh, cool.
Just a few house cleaning items that I want to mention up top. Don't forget, everybody, if you listened to our last episode, we do have Prairie Lights. The official 2016 schedule is out. You can go to prairielightsfilmfest.com. You can read all of the descriptions of all the films, see what times they're playing. I think we have like 38 films currently that's screening over the course of 3 days. You can pick up your weekend pass right now. It's only $10. That $10 gets you access to all the movies, all the Q&As, free popcorn, free soda, a free DVD sampler disc. You'll get discounts at Bonsai, Sin City Grill, the Chocolate Bar, which is once again on board. From they were a sponsor for us last year and the year before, and I just got confirmation today, I think it was, that they are back on board this year. So you'll get discounts there. You get free access to the Bonsai Blowout After Party on Saturday night, all for the low price of $10. Please go to prairielightsfilmfest.com. Order your passes now. Like I said last episode, it helps us sort of determine how many DVD samplers we're going to need to print up. I don't want anyone to not get one because there's a mad rush on Friday of people showing up and we didn't print enough. So if you can get them early, lock it in. That'll help us out a lot. And according to the theater, we've already got a ton of pre-orders, which is the highest amount of pre-orders we've ever had. So thank you, everybody that's listening and anybody out there who has already picked one up, because this seems to be shaping up to be the biggest Prairie Lights yet, which I'm super, super excited by.
Oh, that's great. It's a steal for $10 too. Like, everything you get it's crazy. Who doesn't have $10 to spend to have such a great weekend?
Yeah. And like I was saying with Josh last week, for those people who might think, well, I'm not going to buy a weekend pass because I'm only going to show up for one day. Maybe I'm only going to be there Friday, or maybe I'm only going to be there Saturday. It's still worth it to just pick up the weekend pass, because you'll make up that extra $5 in the free popcorn and the free soda and the discounts at the restaurants and the free DVD that you're going to get for picking that up. So definitely, even if you're only planning to show up for one day, make sure you get that weekend pass just to lock in all that stuff, because the normal day passes are just $5 and you don't get any of that cool swag that comes with it. So absolutely be sure to pick it up.
I just got a message from Josh.
Okay, what's it say?
Did you get it too? It says uninstalled and reinstalled.
How do you interpret that? Do you interpret that as I should try to bring him onto this call, or do you think it will destroy the recording software?
Oh, that's right, because that's the issue, is the recording part of it.
That's the issue. I mean,
well, here's the thing. Okay, so when you bring Josh on board, does it record everything but him, or does it kill everything?
What's basically happening is the actual recording is completely screwed up, where everything is like jarbled. So he'll say a word and then it'll start echoing that same word over and over and over again. It's completely unusable audio.
It sounds kind of cool, actually, but okay, I get it.
I suppose what we could do is we could hang up right now, try it one more time with Josh, and if we come back after the break and he's here, congratulations to him. If not, then we're done.
Okay, well, we love Josh, so we should give him one more chance. And then that's it. After that, that's it. He's dead to us.
All right.
Looks like we're back.
We are back. Josh, are you there? Oh, no, he failed again.
Shoot.
Dang it. Yeah, well, at least we know now that it's actually Josh's problem and not mine. Because what happened a couple weeks back, we were doing an interview with Tom Knobloch, the director of Adaptation, and it went for like an hour, and it was an incredible interview. It was
Oh, no.
fantastic. And then I listened to the recording. I'm like, what the hell happened? Because it was all this weird echoey, jarbled up thing.
Right.
And now I know. It was
Hmm.
Josh the whole time. I thought it was my problem, but it was Josh the whole time. We
So
still love you.
that's the missing episode 3?
Yes. Yep.
Oh.
Yep. Yep. And it even forced us to have to cancel with Chad and Dorothy as well on the following Sunday because it was still doing the same thing. And I thought it was me, but I guess it's Josh.
It's
So,
Josh.
yeah, got to get a headset and use your computer. So, but hopefully we'll bring him back at some point in time.
Okay.
He'll get on here. But for now, it's just going to be you and me tonight, Ben.
All right, sounds good, man.
Just you and me. So tonight, like I said, I'll just get the ball rolling here. Why don't you sort of, for the people who don't know who you are and might not have seen your films, the previous Prairie Lights, or fully aware of you from sort of the horror scene around here, go ahead and explain a little bit about yourself. What is it that you do, and maybe talk a little bit about how you got into film.
Um, yeah, so my name's Benito Garcia, and I am co-owner of Wetworks Special Effects Studios. And we have worked on, gosh, countless films for people in the area. We've done a lot of feature films. For you, specifically, we worked on Isabel, which is still one of my all-time favorite gigs that I've got to work on. We've done a lot of short films.
I'm
We've
glad
done.
it's someone's favorite gig.
Everybody loves it. What are you talking about? We've worked
Not
on
me.
short. What's
I'm
that?
someone. Not me, and I'm someone.
Yeah, that's true. Short films, TV commercials, some print stuff. We do a lot of props for films that are being shot actually all over. We ship props all over from, seems like, one coast to the next. We do a lot of cosplay props and things like that. So we're pretty busy as far as that end of it goes. And then from being on set and working on all these films and doing the special effects, I really got the bug that I wanted to not just work on someone else's film and ideas. I also wanted to, you know, make my own films and put out there the things that I enjoyed doing and making and the types of films I like to see. So kind of one thing led into another, and now I think we're on our fourth film.
That's awesome. Yeah, yeah. And like I said, last podcast, I think you're one of the most talented people in the Nebraska scene in general, whether it's artwork or movies or special effects. I mean, you're sort of like a jack of all trades. You can literally do a little bit of everything. And I do think it's really sort of cool that we have an example here of like a really highly successful sort of like DIY, like you have your own, like Wetworks is a very successful sort of business venture.
Uh-huh.
And I think that's really cool. I don't think that you guys get as much sort of like credit and respect for being able to pull off what you guys have done over the past 3 years, because you guys have grown like crazy. And like I was talking to Josh about this once. I was like, I feel like everybody sort of gets pigeonholed, like, oh, you make horror films, you're just sort of like this little horror thing, and no one really pays much attention. But I think people should pay attention to that kind of stuff, because you're one of the few people that's actually created a thriving sort of business with all this film stuff.
Yeah, it's been extremely successful, and we kind of did the fake it till you make it thing, um, and that just I've told the story a million times, so I'm not going to tell it for the millionth and one time. But we weren't super busy in the beginning, but we projected that we were, and not that we lied about anything, but if we worked in the studio one day and we might have spent 5 or 6 hours testing different kinds of blood and what they look like and what they look like on the ground opposed to on your skin or on the wall. And so we'd post something on Facebook that just said, hey, we spent the whole day, testing blood, and now we're cleaning the studio, and very successful day. And so just even posting little things like that, let people know we are out here and we're working and we're passionate and we're trying to make things better. And people gravitated towards that and saw that we were, compassionate about what we were doing and wanted to come to us with their projects. And it didn't grow overnight, but it felt like it.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And so tell me a little bit about how, like, what made you decide you wanted to sort of like make your own films, like direct? You mentioned a little bit about how you sort of wanted to do something that you wanted to put something on screen that something that you liked and that you wanted to see. But what was that initial thing like? Oh, I want to like jump into the deep end of the pool and I want to direct something and I want to create something from the ground up that's not sort of maybe in your wheelhouse, like special effects. You're super talented at, but I think it takes something else to sort of be like, I'm going to sort of like head this entire like film project and sort of dive into it. So what made you want to do that?
Well, to be honest with you, it was from working with guys like you, and I'm not trying to, pump a bunch of sunshine up your rear end so I get more work in the future.
There is no more work in the future. We're done.
I'm just kidding. It's it was the atmosphere that you would, what do I want to say, not project, but the atmosphere that came along with making a film, and the friendships that are made, and everybody got along, and there wasn't really any fighting, and everybody was there to be creative and make a project together. And I met a lot of really cool people, and I made tons of really awesome friends from the beginning of Wetworks, that I wanted to work with these people on something else besides just, throwing fake blood on them, or, ripping their throats out. And, that's all fun and stuff. But I also wanted to, get out there. Like I said, the things that I like to see. I don't think I've made a horror film yet. And
Yeah, and I think that's what's really fascinating about it because I think that a lot of people, like, if they just sort of like looked at a description, like if you go to the Prairie Lights website right now and you look at the schedule, and you might just see just, it's a one or two sentence description with your name attached to it. I think a lot of people might just instantly assume, oh, this must have something to do with horror, like it
yeah,
must be some sort of gory horror thing. Do you feel like that sort of working in the I guess the realm of horror here in Nebraska might be a detriment to what you might want to achieve or what you might want to project to people, like this other side of you as like I direct these different things. I'm not a horror guy. Do you feel like it's a problem or a hindrance at all?
no, not at all. No, I don't think so. I think everybody wants to get on board and be a part of a project. And I've been picking, not necessarily that I've been picking. One project that I did pick was Skeleton Dance, and the excitement that came along with that, I barely generated any excitement in the beginning. I think everybody was just kind of attached to the story and the fact that Lisa Kavanda had uh, written the screenplay, and then one person wanted to get involved, and then that brought on someone else, and it's just because everybody's a big group of friends, and everybody knows each other and wants to work together. So I think the fact that I do special effects and extremely graphic horror things hasn't really been too much of an issue. And I think it also goes back to some of the things I've played at Prairie Lights for the last couple of years. So people are seeing that that's not what I'm all about and want to be a part of these other projects too.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So what are some of your directorial influences?
God, that's a great question. And you've asked me that before, and I kind of still have the same answer. I take a lot of things from what I see, and I think everybody does that naturally or not. Is you see something and you think that's a great idea and I want to improve on it or make it better. But as far as influences go, I don't know, Matt. I think I had the same answer I did last time. I don't know that I have a specific influence as a director because I'm still so new to it that I'm kind of feeling my way through sink or swim and just kind of figuring it out on my own and wanting to put up. I'm making films that I want to see, and the things that are happening on the screen are what's going on in my mind and how I want to translate that for other people to see. I don't know. I don't really have a whole lot of influences, to be honest with you.
Okay, so it's not like like for example, when I was a kid, when I saw Halloween, that's what made me want to sort of make movies. I was like, okay, that just the way how terrifying this was,
Hmm.
the way it was shot, the way it was filmed. Like, all right, man, that's what I want to do in the
Right?
future. It doesn't mean I necessarily want to make a movie exactly like that,
Hmm.
but so there's nothing like that you've seen like a movie, like even when you were like really young or something. You're just like, wow, that's sort of what got you into movies.
I think the things that you're talking about translated into getting me into the horror special effects and things. Like I have my
Okay.
influences for all of those, my Tom Savinis and Dick Smiths and
What's your
all
favorite
those
Tom
things were
Savini
huge.
movie?
What's that?
What's your favorite Tom Savini movie?
Uh, probably Day of the Dead. Like I've probably seen that. I don't know. We're probably pushing 200 times at this point, if not more.
Wow.
So, but yeah, I have those influences as far as that goes. And then again, like I said, I was on set and thought, this really looks like fun making films. It's not anything I'd ever thought about up until, a couple of years ago. And it wasn't like I saw you guys making films. I was like, oh, this is going to be easy. I'm just going to go make a movie. Because it's not. It's nothing even close to that whatsoever, especially when you're on a micro budget and in such a small town, and so you're the producer and you're the writer and you're the director and you're the every single thing that comes along with it. So it's not easy by any means at all. But it's just being around guys like you, I think, have been my influence over the last, since I've been doing this for the last 2 or 3 years. So I guess when you ask me who's my influences, I guess it would be you.
Oh, wow. That just warms my cold heart.
I don't know what else to say. You're the
No,
only
it's cool.
really that
No,
I'm.
no, it's fine because I think it's really unique and interesting that you have an answer like that because most people, I would assume most directors, at least most directors, if not all the directors that I've ever encountered, when I ask them that question, they're like, oh, well, yeah, I love, Sam Raimi. I grew up on Sam Raimi films, or I grew up on this or that. But it's rare that you get someone who's like, really myself. I'm just kind of like doing things myself, and it's refreshing to have that sort of take on it. So yeah, I
It's going to be a
appreciate that.
double-edged sword. Now people are going to be like, "Oh my God, his movies are going to suck because he doesn't
They could be like,
have
oh
any
God, I can
Matt
I can
used to."
I can see the Matt influence in that shot. He Dutched it. Oh my
Oh, I didn't. I
God.
didn't touch anything. So, but anyway. So, yeah. Hopefully, I didn't ruin any credibility. What little bit I may have built up by making films.
Interesting enough, just as a cool aside, the Splattercast crew and a lot of the Dead Lantern crew will be up in Omaha. I think it's on the 16th. Yeah, next Saturday. Not this coming Saturday, but the Saturday after that, because they are showing The Burning at the Alamo Draft House, which is one of the Tom Savini greats, right?
Yes, amazing film, super amazing film. But I won't be able to be there.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, it makes me super sad. First of all, I didn't know it was playing. Second of all, I couldn't buy a freaking ticket because Alamo Drafthouse website hates my guts. And then after I was going through all that, it turns out that I'm not even going to be around. So
That sucks.
it
But
does suck.
I'll eat some nachos for you or something, and
Is
I'll
that a
keep you in
Mexican
mind.
joke, Matt?
No,
Oh, okay.
I don't even like nachos.
I
Uh,
thought you were going to say you don't even like Mexicans.
But okay, cool. So now you've had a film or two screen at the Prairie Lights in the past.
I have.
Solitude. Is that anywhere for people to see? Do you have that online? Is there a place that people can go look at your stuff?
Not necessarily. Like every once in a while, I'll throw the link out there and remind people that I made this goofy little film, 2 or 3 years ago. I probably should put everything together in some sort of thing where people can go see it. It's like I said, I put the link out once in a while. So and then In Plain Sight, I think is just up on YouTube. So it's not that they're anywhere in particular. And again, I've been making these films just for me and because I want to make films and I like to see. I'm making films I want to see, is what I'm trying to say. I don't think about really pimping them out there or putting links up all the time about not look how great I am or look what I can do. But I don't know. I guess I don't think about it. I should probably do that.
Interesting. So basically, what's going to end up happening is now you have two more. Prairie Lights Productions will have to put out like the Benito Garcia collection on Blu-ray with all of your
Hey,
short films.
that's a
And we can.
great idea.
I think that's a fantastic idea. We'll have to work on that. Yeah, that's actually a really cool idea because I was telling Josh, whenever Josh's phone works and he's on this show. I think it would be really cool to eventually, at some point in time, have sort of like a little sort of mini label where we put out local filmmakers stuff, like in collections, or as Flatwater Terrors, for example, is which you did some effects work on some of the short films on the Flatwater Terrors project. The Blu-ray of which is being released at the Alamo Draft House in a screening on Friday, July 29th at 9
Yep.
o'clock. So, and we
Right.
just got a really cool review. Go to facebook.com. It's all over the place. I'm whoring it out all over, so people can go watch, go check out the review. This reviewer from We Live Film really dug the film. But you can go there and you can see all these various sort of things, and get Q&A and have your Blu-ray signed by whoever you want it signed by. And all the proceeds are going to go to Nebraska Independent Film Projects as well as the Eastern Nebraska Film Office, which are two Nebraska film organizations that were sort of decided upon by the filmmakers themselves. So big sort of fundraiser charity drive sort of thing.
Yeah, I'm going to miss that as well.
You're not going to be there for that?
I can't. I'm out of town. I've already got something that's already set up 2 months ago. I'm going to be in the Twin Cities actually. So
okay. Well,
I know.
okay.
I feel terrible. Nate and I talked about that a couple days ago, and I just absolutely feel like crap that I can't be there for that.
Maybe we can stream it or something so you can watch it online or something. But
you were thinking at one point about streaming Prairie Lights. Was that a fleeting thought, or is that still something that might...
Well, I had an idea. We're always batting around ideas. One thing about Prairie Lights is I love hearing input and suggestions from people who attend, people who don't attend. Just I like ideas. I like batting things around in my mind of would this work, would this not work. I had sort of an idea that maybe we would be able to stream online a portion of Prairie Lights. I wouldn't want to stream the entire festival, obviously, because then who would want to come to the festival if they could just watch it online. But I do think that it would be kind of cool to be able to at some point stream maybe a block of films, because on one hand it's like, well, we want people to come out, and it's already tough enough as it is to get people to come out to Grand Island for a weekend. That's tough already. But then again, there are people who genuinely just can't make it, who want to come, but they just can't make it. And if there's some sort of way that we can provide content for them after the fact, or maybe during a certain block during the festival, like maybe live stream the short film block or something like that. That's something is not in the cards for this year, but maybe in the future, once we have a little bit more time to think about it. Maybe one plan I want to do this year is I want to record all of the Q&As and everything like that, and then I'm going to stick them on the Prairie Lights YouTube channel, so that for people who couldn't come out to the actual screenings and whatnot and couldn't get, at least you can then see the Q&A sessions and whatnot, and maybe some filmmakers will allow some of their films to be attached to the Q&As so that people could watch them and then do that. I mean, that's something that will happen post fourth annual. But we'll see how that all goes. One of the difficulties with Prairie Lights is it's kind of me doing almost everything, especially like social media wise. And I'm not a big tech guy, so it's very difficult for me to it's fairly time consuming as it is to just be able to do all of this stuff. But I want to get there. I want to get to a point where people have the opportunity to see some of this stuff. Maybe if it could even be something as simple as, hey, Prairie Lights has a YouTube channel now. Would you like to host your film on the YouTube channel? And then people can go directly there and find it. That will be something. Yeah, that'll be something that I'll be asking filmmakers and whatnot after this coming film festival. So maybe in the months afterwards, you'll start seeing stuff pop up. And Josh and I, if Josh ever returns, we are planning to sort of keep this podcast going even after Prairie Lights, because I think one cool aspect of it is even though, because there's a huge downtime between when Prairie Lights will end in October to when it begins the following October, and right now I believe our dates are October 20, 21st, 22nd. It's the weekend of the Nebraska bye. So let me put that out there to everybody. That is the weekend we are doing Prairie Lights 5, the weekend, the third weekend of October. But I want to be able to keep talking to local filmmakers and promoting films as they're being made and stuff during that entire down year while stuff is, not happening, quote unquote. Mm-hmm. So, this will keep going and also keep people thinking about Prairie Lights throughout the entire year. Right. So that's one thing that we'll be doing. But yeah, if you have any ideas, Ben, about ways to improve things or things you'd like to see, I'd love to hear them.
Yeah, maybe even you could just do something as simple as periscoping the after party on Saturday night, just a quick snippet of everybody to get together. And maybe,
I don't know what periscoping is, but I can find a social media person that can do that for us.
Yeah, it's super easy. It's just literally stream live events, whatever you're doing. And it goes all over the world, actually. But you could do the red carpet. You could do... Well, anyway, we can talk about that stuff later. But there is some avenues probably that you could that you could show some content without showing all the content that you're trying to get people there for the to see the films and stuff.
Yeah, for sure. And I definitely want to, expand into that arena. And now that basically all of Prairie Lights is done, like the whole schedule's done, all the sponsors are, locked down, everything's ready to go. I literally am just doing the podcast until the festival. I think the only thing I have left is just to make sure everybody's films that are currently in post-production come in on time. And I get them in my hand before the day of the festival. So
Right.
that's what I like. That's what I like to. I like to have everything done way in advance, so I don't have to stress and worry about anything. So,
Yep. I hear you.
so let's talk a little bit about the two films that you are going to have world premiere at this
All
year's
right.
Prairie Lights Film Festival, and they are going to be on Saturday night, 8:30 p.m. is Walk a Mile. We'll just start with that. So tell us a little bit about Walk a Mile. What's this all about?
Walk a Mile came about. We just got back from Crypticon, but we were at Crypticon the year prior, and Nate had done a lot of pimping out of coulrophobia, and our friend T-Bird, Tony, he was one of the clowns in that movie, and he's just a great guy. And a lot of us are either making films or talking films, or Mark Popejoy is part of that whole group of guys, and he's always working on films, whether he's behind the scenes or in front of the camera. And Nate's constantly talking films and writing things, and Tony has got the itch to act. He likes being on screen, and he's been waiting on Nate to do a couple of things, and they've had a couple of hiccups, and Tony's ready to do something. So I told him, I said, I'll write a little something, and we'll shoot it, and I need to work on some. My next step is dialogue. In Solitude, it was a locked shot on the desk, and somebody was writing a letter, so I didn't have to deal with too much there. And then, the next film was In Plain Sight, which we were actually, the next step was to work on camera angles and do things like that, but it didn't have any dialogue. So when Tony was itching to do something, I thought I need to write something that's got dialogue so that now I can learn how to film dialogue and put it together correctly and have it look right. So, it took me, I don't know, 2 or 3 days to write a little something, and I worked with what we had. And when I say that, I mean that Tony is, he's a shoe cobbler by trade. And so I just wrote a story based around a shoe cobbler working one day, and a guy brings in a pair of shoes or a pair of boots that belonged to his father, and he and his father's relationship wasn't the greatest. His dad was in the not Vietnam, the other one, the Korean War. And so just by saying that, we were able to set the timeline of when this guy was 8, 9 years old. I think, back then it was, kids are, how's that go? Kids are seen but not heard. You don't speak unless you're spoken to, and father-son relationships probably weren't the greatest. Not to mention if your dad was off at war and then came home and was messed up from war. So anyway, the guy brings in, which is played by Mark Popejoy, brings in a pair of shoes that belonged to his father. And not shoes, a pair of army boots that he wore during the conflict. And basically he says, this is the only thing that I really have that belonged to my father, and they're all beat up and they look like hell. And I don't know what to do with them, so I'm coming to you to see if you can't maybe clean them up and fix them up a little bit so they look a little nicer. And then so the story just kind of progresses from there, and as the shoe cobbler gets a little backstory from the guy as they have a conversation back and forth when he brings the shoes in, just some small talk. And I'm obviously not going to tell you everything because I don't want to give away the story. But as he's working on the boots and cleaning them up, he kind of discovers something with the boots that kind of opens his eyes to not only the relationship between the guy that brought him in and his father, but maybe the deteriorating relationship between the shoe cobbler and his son. And so he sees some similarities there and wants to try to correct these issues before they get too far to the point that they can't mend them, or they can't have a close relationship, he and his son. So, it's not a very long film to cover all those bases, but I think it covers it pretty well, and it's definitely a heartwarming story.
Cool. How long roughly do you think it'll be when it's all done?
Uh, I probably lied to you and said it's shorter than it actually is. I'm
That's
terrible
what
with.
every filmmaker. Okay, like that's not the first time I've heard that in the past like 4 weeks. It's just like, hey, you're probably gonna need to add another 10 minutes onto the the running time of this short film that I'm doing, which is totally fine. It just really screws me up when I'm trying to do the schedule.
I know.
So people should know. Anybody out there, like the schedule might be tweaked a little bit before the final thing, but that's totally cool and fine with me.
All right. No, I don't think it. I don't think it's any longer than 14, and I'm guessing it comes in somewhere around 12 is what I'm shooting for.
Okay.
And we
Now,
didn't shoot a ton of extra stuff. We really got down to the nitty gritty and shot what we really thought we needed, and that was it. And we did that for two reasons: just for editing, because we knew we were going to be editing two films, this and Skeleton Dance, and I just didn't want to have to trudge through a lot of kicking things out and throwing things out that
yeah,
might have five shots I love, but I get to keep one.
yeah,
So I
yeah,
thought if
for
I
sure.
stuck to my guns and really shot what I wanted, that it'd just eliminate that.
Now, do you feel, and we can talk about this a little bit more when we get into Skeleton Dance, but you had mentioned earlier that you sort of, you started directing movies a couple years ago, started putting these things together, things that you wanted to see. As you've gone through and started editing these two, now you've gotten, this is like your third and fourth films
Uh-huh.
under your belt. Do you feel like you're starting to have like your own style? Like you're starting to recognize, okay, I sort of do this now. This is sort of like my move when I do these films. Or do you feel like all of them are sort of completely different from one another?
Um, that's a good question, really. They're kind of
That's what
always
I'm here to do, Ben. I'm here to ask good, hard-hitting questions.
All right, you're doing fantastic. I don't know that I have an editing style yet because um, Solitude I didn't edit. I shipped that out because I didn't know how. And then In Plain Sight, Logan Davis edited that. Although I was from editing from beginning to end, I didn't actually edit. So I took a lot of his influences because he's so good at what he does. So now that I've sat down and I've started to edit on my own Skeleton Dance, and then Jeremy Labash, he's helped with a couple of things. He's really, really good. So he's been mentoring me. But I think I'm too new to have a style or notice anything yet that I'm continually doing. It's coming across in my stories, though, the stories that I'm writing and creating on my own other than Skeleton Dance, because, again, that was written by Lisa as a screenplay. But there's parts in Lisa's cool about letting us make some changes, which I really appreciate. She let us go in some darker areas that weren't necessarily in the story. But I noticed that I'm doing a lot of, I'll give you a little bit of something, and then, I'm not good with happy endings. I don't like everything happy at the end. It
Oh,
kind of
I
pisses me
hate
off.
happy endings.
I know. It
They're the
pisses me off.
worst.
It makes me really very mad. So I notice that a lot of times I'll give you something and everybody thinks everything's cool and it's great, okay, and then I'd love to yank it away at the end. Even if the story has a great happy ending, something has to happen to just break your heart. And I just love that because you don't see it, and I love to put that in the films that I work on.
Yeah,
So
I'm
that's
a
what I'm noticing. I don't know that I notice an editing thing or a style as far as visual yet. I've got a few more films to go, I think, before I get to that.
Yeah, we'll discuss that more at the 10-year Benito Garcia film retrospective that we'll host, and we're going to show all your movies, and we'll show the progression of how you went through things.
It's so
But
because you can see it. Like I said, it was a lock shot. The camera didn't move. No dialogue in the first one. Second one, lots of camera angles, lots of cool, fun stuff was happening. No dialogue, and now we're finally moving into dialogue, trying to figure
yeah,
that out, how that works, and then Skeleton Dance.
yeah. And I love that you say that you don't like happy endings to things, because I don't like happy endings in movies either. However, I feel like I'm a total hypocrite because the only Dead Lantern thing that I ever did that I really truly loved and was like, okay, I really like what I did was shortly after Nightfall, and that's the only thing we've done that actually has a quote unquote happy ending.
Oh
Like
yeah.
the guy gets revenge for the girl, and she goes off, and the bad guy dies, which makes everybody happy, and then the ghostly girl goes off into the distance, happy that he saved it, and then he throws the money away.
Right.
And that's like the only thing that I've ever done with a happy ending, and that's the thing I like the most. So
Oh,
I don't
that's
know. I don't know what that says about me. I think I like bad endings, but apparently
well,
like
Skeleton Dance has a happy ending, but to say it's a happy ending is kind of not. It's not even the right phrase because the happy ending comes at such a tragic cost that it's this weird trade, and so I'm okay with it because like this horrible thing just happened, but that kind of equaled sort of a happy ending, so I'm okay with that.
well let's talk about Skeleton Dance then. Don't give the entire story or anything like that, but sort of what's this about? How did you get on board of this project? Because this is part of the
Um,
Nebraska Noir anthology project that's going to world premiere, along with Kiss a Fella, Say Goodbye Grace, and Backwash.
this is gonna be. I'm so excited about all of those. They're gonna be awesome, and we're working with Ryan on Say Goodbye Grace. I just before we talked just now, I got off the Skype call with him to go over the. I don't even want to call them special effects because it's really not any. It's more just creating such a dark and dingy, dismal look on these actors or the people in the story. They're just sweaty and
Yeah,
they're tired and they're wore out, and I'm so excited to do that because
I
it's
think
not.
everybody's excited for these noirs. I mean, I am totally stoked for this because it's sort of like my favorite sort of cinematic style. Some people call it a genre, whatever you want to call it, style, genre, whatever. But this is like, I feel like this is sort of like the crown jewel of the entire weekend. Like, people are going to see some stuff in these films that they've never seen in Nebraska films before,
Yeah,
and that's what I'm
agreed.
stoked
Totally.
for.
Yeah, me too. I can't wait for you to see. I know you watch the films before, obviously before they go to Prairie Lights or before they're screened at Prairie Lights, and I'm so excited for you to see Skeleton Dance. I have not been more proud of anything really in a long time, artistic wise, that I've worked on. And it's not just because of the entire group of people that came together to make this thing. That's a huge part of it because I could have never ever done it on my own, and I almost feel guilty by putting my name on the credits as director because so many people were a part of it. I can't thank everybody enough, but we really went. I did my research on noir and the look and some of the not I don't want to say cliche, but a lot of the things that need to be in your noir film per se to make it a noir film.
Right.
And we took some of those things and I didn't do the Venetian blinds on the wall or the slats from the I didn't quite go that far, but we threw in a cool ceiling fan that's running, and we did a couple of those things that we felt
Yeah.
like we needed to do to pay homage to the genre. But man, I can't wait for you to see it. It looks crazy. We really went. The story's dark, so we went dark, and
Yeah.
I think you're
Now,
gonna.
for me personally, I will not watch it before Prairie Lights. What's going to happen is when you sort of turn the film in, we will have Jim Pohl will probably watch it to make sure it runs properly and there's nothing screwed up about it.
I gotcha.
Because like I am just like the other attendees there. I want to sort of be surprised. Like a lot of
Cool.
these films, like especially like the world premieres and stuff like that, I don't
Uh-huh.
want to see them, and I want to be in the audience just as wowed by it when they first pop up. So yeah, I don't plan on seeing it until that Saturday night in that theater with all those people around. So
Ooh, that makes me more excited.
yeah,
Cool.
that's what I want to do, and so that's what my plan is. So a lot of these world premieres, I won't even be seeing them. We're gonna have other people watch them just to make sure that the films don't, there's not some weird glitch in it because that would be terrible. Don't want to be
I
like,
hear.
send me your file and make sure it works properly. So yeah,
Yeah.
we'll have other people test those, but yeah, I want to be surprised just like everybody else, and I think that's part of the fun of all this.
Uh,
Now, for Skeleton Dance, is this the first time you've worked on someone else's script that wasn't something you wrote yourself?
it is, and then okay, so I'm gonna let the cat out of the bag on this one. So, for the people that don't know, these films come out, all the scripts come out at once in a mass email to filmmakers or directors who are interested in being a part of this project. And they all go out at once, and everybody gets a chance to read all the scripts, and then you pick your top three, and you hope you get what you get. So I'm going to let the cat out of the bag, which is probably not good, but Lisa actually sent me a copy of Skeleton Dance probably 3 or 4 weeks ahead of time. Now, she didn't send it to me saying, I want you to make this film. It was more like, hey, this is part of what's going to be in the list of scripts for directors to pick from. She's like, I thought that you would think this was cool based on, it's kind of a dark story, and I wanted you to read it. So I got a chance to read it kind of ahead of time before anybody else, and I fell in love with it instantly because the story is so dark.
Yeah.
And I'm not into,
I've read it as well. It is really good.
yeah, and I'm not just into dark films. Again, it doesn't go along with that I'm a horror special effects guy. The story was just so compelling and so heavy that I just loved it instantly. So, I waited till the 3 or 4 weeks later when the scripts all went out, and and I already knew that was going to be one of my 3 picks, and so I picked it. And I think luckily what happened was I probably was one of the very first ones to get my picks in, and I was able
Yeah,
to.
I think you responded real quick. There are a few filmmakers that responded really fast, like within a couple hours after all of the scripts went out. And so I sort of had a feeling like they must have read these scripts somewhere else before they got here, because it's like surely they didn't get through all the scripts that fast, because there was quite a few scripts.
No, there really was. And so anyway, so I signed on to it, and I got the okay right away, and I think I even might have said to Megan, like, what the fuck? Oh, shit. Now I got to make this fucking crazy thing that I just read that was amazing. Like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. This is going to be all screwed up. So once I finally got calmed down and I started to break it down and was thinking about shots and how I wanted things to look and started doing my noir research, I really started feeling more comfortable about it. And we put it to the side for, I would say, it was during the winter, so I'd say probably a good 3 months that it just kind of floated around in my head, and I just wanted to put it away and just think about it and let it resonate, and, I would think about a shot, and I'd think about a scene, and, I didn't have the script in front of me reading over it and, jotting down notes, and although that's not true, I did have one of those little Post-it notes, those little square sticky things. I probably had, I don't know, probably 30 of those full of shot ideas and things as something would creep into my head. But then, so spring rolled around, and first thing we needed a house to shoot in, or a location where, well, okay, here's the story. I should go backwards. The story is about a little girl who is raised by her grandmother only because her mother took her to school one day, third grade I think it was, took her to third grade, dropped her off, and then when school got out and the little girl came out to look for her mom to go home, her mother had died of a drug overdose, so her grandmother was there to pick her up. And so really, it instantly starts from that point that little girl's life is just kind of miserable and terrible because the grandmother is a bad parent, first of all, doesn't want to raise a third grader, and just is kind of self-absorbed in her own life and just absolutely physical and mental abuse all over the place for this poor little girl to deal with. So anyway, now to get back to what I was saying, trying to find a place to shoot this, we needed a house that needed to look like the grandma was a hoarder. She didn't care about cleaning, and she didn't care about taking care of herself, let alone a little kid. And so I got a little freaked out again then once spring came around, and I literally just put a post up on Facebook that said, looking for a location. I think I said looking for a house or trailer house that we can use that needs to look like a hoarder lives there. And I got quite a few responses right away. And all the way down to somebody was going to let us shoot in their camper, like a motorhome. They're like, you can just do whatever you want to it. You can trash it and just make it look crappy. And we were to the point of people were giving us ideas, and we'd go to look at these places, and it just was not going to work. And we were just right on the edge of shooting in a motorhome. And a friend of mine, his name's Cody, Cody Banks, came along, and he said, hey, he's like, I live in this sort of trailer house park in the middle of nowhere, which it literally is in the middle of the country, surrounded by nothing. But it's a trailer park. I don't know how it got there or how it started there, but he's like, we're going to remodel our house. He's like, so just He said, come in and you can fart up the carpets and the walls and the windows and the kitchen and whatever you guys want to do. And when you're done and you head out, we're going to remodel. So we were
Wow,
able
that's
to,
great.
yeah, so we were able to shoot in an actual house and trash it, and it worked out fantastic. But when you see what this thing looked like, we just went to every, like secondhand store and just bought every piece of junk and crap and tons of dishes and pots and pans and just literally just put shit everywhere. So it just looked like a
Wow, you actually did set dressing. What is that?
when you see, I think I even at one point ordered 50 milk or 50 egg cartons because a big part of the movie has to do with the little girl eating eggs constantly that the grandma feeds her. So we had like egg cartons strung out from one end to the other, and so
That's
it was pretty
awesome.
interesting. But it translates well. It translates well on film. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it. Now, I really, really enjoyed because I think we have a little bit of a kinship here in that we've both shot things that have been written and or adapted by Lisa. The thing that I did was a film called Last Breath, which is part of the Shivers Down Your Spine anthology, and I had actually shot films by other writers before, namely Tony Crumpton.
Hmm.
And I think by the time we shot Last Breath, I think we might have shot, I don't know if we shot I Dream of Ginny before that, which was mostly written by Chuck Matan. But I remember like Lisa's stuff has a really unique style. Like it is really sort of dark, heavy, serious tone wise. And I remember when sort of like the story behind Last Breath is DJ did not want to film anymore, and I did not want to film anymore. We wanted a long break, and then DJ got, for whatever reason, he runs DSLRFilmNoob.com. Some companies like, we have a free like slider,
Oh,
and
right, yeah.
we want you to like use it, DJ. So he immediately called me. He's like, Matt, I'm gonna be down next weekend. We have to film a movie. I'm like, next weekend? What are you talking about? He's like, I got this slider. I have to use it. They want it in their commercials or whatever. I got to use it. I'm coming down. Make it happen. And I had literally told, I had no scripts that would be
Right.
ready in a week. And I contacted Lisa. I'm like, Lisa, I need you to write something to me by tomorrow morning. And it's got to have like one person in a house. And she wrote this story that was real. I mean, it was based on something that happened to a friend of hers. It was like a true story. And when I read it, I was scared shitless going into it. It's the first time I've ever directed anything where I went into it like terrified because I'm like, okay, I didn't write this. This thing is so personal. It's based on this sort of true thing that happened
Right.
to a person. And I was like, oh, I was like a nervous wreck. I was like, oh my god, I cannot fuck this up. Did you feel that way when you were doing Skeleton Dance? Because I feel like when you first film something that's not something you wrote, at least me anyway, I almost feel like I have to do a good job because I don't want to disappoint the person who wrote the script. Do you
Hmm.
feel that way, or do you just go into it like it's mine? I'm gonna make it happen.
Okay, so I'm going to be honest with you. When I got the script, I knew instantly I wanted to make some changes. Now it's not because I didn't like what Lisa had, because the script on its own, without any changes, is amazing. I thought it could stand on its own without my help, obviously. But there were some things that I wanted to see happen in it, and some of the personal touches I wanted to put into it. And some of it had to do with the intro, which is completely different than what she had. The story literally starts, and I'm not ruining anything because I already told you, but page one, the very first thing is the mom dropping the little girl off to school, and this thing is packed with flashbacks and voiceovers, which for your first project uh, is huge.
Tough to do. Yeah, it's
Oh
tough.
God, it was so, because you're going back and forth, and sometimes there's a flashback and a flashback. I was almost pulling my hair out, not because of anything Lisa did. It's just because I'm not experienced in that kind of thing. But anyway, so I got a hold of Lisa right away and told her that I wanted to, with it being a noir, I felt that obviously the voiceover is important, but that I wanted the voiceover to start um, like in a coffee shop. Like I didn't want it to just boom, here we are on the screen, and the little girl goes to kindergarten. I wanted it to slowly build into this girl goes to a coffee shop, sits down with her laptop, starts to type, her life story, and then that's where our voiceover starts. It seemed to make more sense to me. So I got with Lisa, and she's like, cool. She's like, just you make whatever changes you want. Let me know if you need me to rewrite anything, and I'm completely open to whatever you want to do. So just by that little conversation, she took so much weight off of me as far as I don't want to screw this up to, she's open to kind of whatever. So our relationship, our open relationship as far as communication went, she made it so easy for me. I never really felt like I was going to fart it up. I felt like she would make changes around me if I thought I needed it. So she made it a very positive experience for sure.
Well, I was terrified. You're more of a man than I am. But I was actually I think it's really rewarding though, like when you come out of that. I don't know if you're finished shooting Skeleton Dance or if you're
All
just still in
done.
the process. All done?
Yeah,
I
rough
feel
cut.
like
We got our first set done, and some
oh
of our
cool,
music's
cool.
added too, so it's going pretty well.
Oh, nice, nice. I felt like incredibly because I remember when we edited this thing together and we started putting the music to it and whatnot over in DJ's place in Sydney. We traveled to Sydney, Nebraska, and we spent a weekend with DJ trying to edit this thing together. And as we were editing and putting all the the bells and whistles on this thing, I remember distinctly all of us when we sort of were done, we just sort of like, wow, this like it was such a sense of accomplishment, and I'm sure there was a little bit of like, oh, thank God we didn't fuck this up. But I mean, it was so like, wow, we sort of like you expand your horizons as a filmmaker a little bit by trying, doing something outside of your comfort zone, which I think is important for all filmmakers to try. I'm trying to get Josh to do that. Josh just won't do it quite yet, but I'm gonna push him into something like you're just gonna do this, Josh. If it turns out like crap, it turns out like crap. But I do think it helps all filmmakers grow and just try something different, which is really cool because like Last Breath, I would not call it a horror film. It's more of sort of like this dramatic like tragedy sort
Hmm.
of thing, and like I said, it's so far out of my wheelhouse that I'm sort of really proud of how that all came together and what was accomplished with it. I'm sure Skeleton Dance, you sort of feel the same way. You're like, wow, it's one of those things where it's like, wow, I'm not just a certain type of filmmaker. I can do these other things,
Hmm.
and the next time something kind of weird and scary comes along for me, I'm like, hey, I've had this past experience. I can do this. Like, you
Yeah,
feel confident you can make it happen the next time around.
yeah, you're right. I do, and I also feel like, not just myself that I can do it, but the crew that came together for Skeleton Dance. If another project came along and I could get all these people on board again, God, I feel 100% confident that we could really make some cool stuff if it were to come along, or if anybody in the group wanted to make something. But yeah, it's definitely an accomplishment to take something that someone else wrote and then you're shooting these things and you're up all night and you're shooting 18 hours and you're, like you said, set dressing and those kind of things. And then at the end and you look at it and you're like, wow, cool, all these things that we did came together and it looks like what I just read, in
Yeah.
this screenplay. It's kind of cool.
And when it works, that's when the moment of happiness and jubilation comes. Like, it worked.
Hmm.
I was really concerned it wouldn't, but it actually did, and that's what makes me really happy.
Yeah.
So cool. Yeah, but yeah, Skeleton Dance, that's going to world premiere as part of the Nebraska Noir Anthology. It starts at 8:45 on Saturday night. I think that's October 8th. I always forget the date. 7th, 8th, and 9th. So yeah, it'll be
7th, 8th.
October 8th. Yeah, October 8th. And Benito, you're going to be there doing a Q&A session with all the other Nebraska Noir filmmakers, so you'll be there talking about your films. But we also have Kiss a Fella by Dorothy and Chad. Say Goodbye Grace by Ryan Olson, as you mentioned. I think he just hit his Kickstarter goal, so
He
I think
did.
they're going full throttle on the full film there. So I can't wait to see that because even just the concept art of that looks just totally awesome. And I know we're going to have Ryan on as a guest in the coming months as well to talk a little bit more about his film there. And then Backwash by Daniel Griskowiak, which is
Oh,
also, I think Julia stars in that, which I think we've both worked with, Julia Farrell.
yeah, she's
So
awesome.
yeah, so there's going to be all sorts of really, really cool films screening, and I can't wait to watch them. So get your tickets, $10 right now,
Sure,
prairielightsfilmfest.com. Get your
definitely.
tickets. Now, do you have any interest in doing a feature-length film? So you've done 4 shorts now. Do you feel like you're getting to the point where you want to kick it up a notch and try a feature, or are you just happy to sort of live in the short film space for now?
For right now, I'm going to keep living in the short film space because I'm learning editing and I'm learning how music drives the story, and I'm still learning how to shoot dialogue correctly, and so I'm going to keep working on these little things until I really feel, I don't suppose I'll ever feel 100% confident because I don't think anyone probably ever should, but when I get to the point that I think we can pull one off, then yeah, I definitely want to, and I don't know what it'll be about, and I don't know where it'll come from or who will write it, but I think in the future, yeah, it's probably definitely going to happen. I'm kind of scared, but
Oh, you have to be. You have to be. Feature-length film, like it's like that it'll hit you that first day you're on set, because most short films, at least the ones I've worked on, you can get them done in 2 or 3 days, and you're like, okay, it's a weekend, maybe 2 weekends if really need to. But when it's that first day of a feature-length film, and you realize like your first 18-hour day, and you're like, oh my god, I have about 50 more of these coming, and there's going to be so much money shelled out on this thing, and there's going to be so much post-production to do afterwards. That was my problem. That's why I had originally got burned out, is because I did Shivers and Isabel simultaneously at the same time,
yeah.
and don't ever do that. That's my advice to any low-budget filmmaker out there. Don't shoot two features at the same time, because it'll just drive you crazy.
Well, I'm doing the two shorts. I'm doing Walk a Mile and Skeleton Dance, and I feel like that's more like I almost feel like it's too much. It's
Yeah.
I think I'm going to be okay, but I just feel like, God, why'd I do two? Because I want them both to be amazing, and I don't want one to suffer because of the other. And
For sure.
I
And
can't
I don't,
imagine a
yeah,
feature.
I don't mean if you need to go or anything, just holler. I just love talking to you. So
No, I'm
if
good.
it gets too late, just be like, Matt, shut up, I gotta go.
I do have to be at
Um,
work at 5 o'clock, but I'm still good.
okay. I'm curious. Like you mentioned that you're directing, you do the special effects, you're learning how to edit, you're working on sort of like music stuff and how that all goes. I'm curious as to what your favorite aspect of filmmaking is. Like for me, for example, directing is not my favorite aspect of it. It's probably my least favorite aspect of it, honestly. But I love to edit. Like sometimes it can drive me freaking crazy. But I love sort of like putting that jigsaw puzzle together into something like really cool and interesting, and you
Hmm.
take all these disparate images that don't seem to make any sense, and you throw them all together into a way that people sort of like forget about.
Right?
They're seeing an artificial thing that's been created.
Yeah.
What's sort of like your favorite aspect? If you could only do one
Mhm.
thing, if a gun was to your head and like, okay, you can only pick one thing in filmmaking, what would that be?
Well, it wouldn't be sound. Although,
Oh, I hate
although,
sound.
although I have to say, I'm very proud of the sound that we have done on Skeleton Dance because being on set all of these times and watching people do sound and then going and watching a film where the sound goes to shit, it's just like, man, I don't want that to happen to my film. So I've gone through and I've done tons and tons of um, research and studying and talking to people that do sound and figuring out the right software and how to fix something when you have a problem, how to avoid having problems. Sound is probably going to be the least favorite for sure. Although when it comes out good, that's awesome. But my favorite thing probably would be, and I'm getting I've learned a lot from Jeremy Lubash. He is our cinematographer, and the stuff that he thinks of, like as a director, you're thinking about 1,000 things at once, but when you're the cinematographer and you're thinking kind of about almost just one thing, and that's making a shot look really cool.
Right, right.
I would have to say that, and being and helping set up lights and angles, and where I'm learning about thirds, when you're shooting and where things end
Yeah.
up on the screen, and all those things are. I think that end of it is probably what I'm enjoying the most is shooting something and then going back real quick and watching it on the viewfinder or the monitor and get goosebumps because it looks amazing.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think that end of it is really kind of more what gets me going is just making a really cool shot.
Now, when you work on shots and stuff, is that stuff that mostly comes to you on set, or do you have that pre-planned well in advance, like fully storyboard, and you're like, this is what I want to do, or is it like, hey, this would be cool, let's try this?
I've so far on all the films that I've worked on, we've been really good about not saying, "Hey, this would be really cool. Let's do this." What generally happens is it's not storyboarded by any means, but generally there's a shot list, and we follow it pretty well. And even if the shot list isn't written down, before we start filming, we're like, okay, we need a tight, and we're going to need a medium and a wide, and we want to shoot over, over shoulders for conversation. So we kind of know going into it what's going to happen. What's cool about this is we were able to shoot with two cameras, two identical cameras that were set up exactly the same, and that was amazing.
Yeah, that's a nice thing to have.
Some of this software where you can do that, where you can import the two videos and then bring in your imported audio, and it syncs it all up for you, and you're just clicking between angles. Amazing. So if you can shoot with two cameras, I suggest it for sure.
Awesome. Interesting.
But yeah, what was the question? I forgot the question now. I feel like I'm rambling.
Well, I was just asking you sort of like when you come up with, is it a lot of pre-plan, like this is the shot I want, or is it like you're on set and as things are organically happening, you're like, oh wait, I want to do this sort of
Right,
thing.
okay. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, that's fine.
Just went out of my head. Generally, when we're shooting, I try not to let that happen too much. Like, if a scene's coming up, I'll say, okay, this scene, we're going to shoot this scene here pretty quick. I want you to maybe think of one or two things outside of what we know we have to have. If something organically happens or you see something, let's keep that to a minimum, but let's not, not do those things because we could miss something really cool. Because sometimes those things just lend themselves to, you're in the moment, you're like, oh shit, this light's amazing or this smoke is amazing. Let's grab this while we can. So a lot of times Jeremy will say, you know what I think would look cool, or you know what would be awesome. And he'll explain it to me, and I'll either be like, yeah, I don't know, maybe, I don't think so, or I'll say, yeah, let's shoot that and see what it looks like. But we don't do that a lot because you can eat up so much time.
Yeah.
And you end up with so much shit that you have to dig through in editing that it almost becomes too much.
Yeah, don't I know it.
Yeah, so we try to keep that down to a minimum because not that we just don't have all the time in the world. We all have full-time jobs, and we have these deadlines now for Prairie Lights. We just didn't want to bog ourselves with too much stuff.
Right. And I find that really interesting because one of the projects, I don't know if the listeners know this. I'm sure if you follow us on Facebook, but the first Prairie Lights Productions films a short film called Blood Model, which we're shooting in September, which, Benito, you're going to be doing effects work on, which is going to be really cool.
I'm very excited.
And we have, this is the first time, like, you've been on many Dead Lantern sets before. It's essentially been like me, DJ, and Steve. And then like anybody else who might show up that day to sort of hang out, whatnot. And I have always been of the mindset as a director myself. Like I come up with lots of ideas like on the fly, like on the spot, and it can make our film shoots drag because I'm like, oh, I need to get 5 different angles of this because I want the maximum amount of flexibility in editing that I can have. Because my mindset has always been, well, that's fine. I could do this one or two shots, but if I get in the editing room and I hate it, I don't have those other 3, 4, 5 shots that of different angles that I got. And so for Dead Lantern stuff, God, man, out of all the stuff, and you've been on my sets, you know how many angles and shots I do. In the edit, just imagine that in the editing room. So
I can't imagine that. I would go crazy.
And that's the thing, like, I don't slate anything. Like, Dead Lantern does not slate because I hate slate. It's stupid. I hate it.
I specifically bought a slate because, I'm telling you, because of what you just said. And I thought about that as we're getting ready to start this project, and I thought, on watching Isabel, how many takes and shots, and nothing slated, and I was thinking, how the freak do you go in and remember what was where, and how does that match up with your audio, and
yeah,
so I
it's crazy.
Went out and bought one. I was like, I'm not dealing with that. BS.
Yeah, I will tell this to other filmmakers, and they look at me like I'm an alien from Pluto or something. They're like, "What do you mean you don't slate?" I was actually having the production meeting with Mark Timian and Pete O'Brien and Nate about this. I was like, "I don't want to slate. do you guys require a slate? And they just looked at me. They're like, well, you're editing it, right? I'm like, yeah. They're like, well, we don't care. I'm like, thank God. I have this thing where I accumulate take after take after take, but I just sort of know where everything is. I
Hmm.
don't know. It's the way my mind works, and I'm happy to work that way. However, just sort of like getting back to our previous discussion about getting outside your comfort zone, for Blood Model, this is sort of like the first time that we have ever had like a full crew. I think there's like 10 crew members that's going to be there, and we have like I have the whole thing storyboarded out, and like all of these shots now are in my head ahead of time, and I'm not going to be on set saying, hey, we're going to get this angle and this angle and this angle. We're only shooting what's on the storyboards, and we're
Awesome.
going to shoot those shots until they're right.
Hmm.
And that's just another thing you start growing as a filmmaker. I feel like, you bring a huge crew on board and whatnot, and everybody's involved. Like, you have to grow yourself as a filmmaker as well. Like, I hate shallow depth of field. I fucking hate it. DJ knows I hate it. Everybody knows I hate it, but everybody loves it. But there's going to be shallow depth of field in Blood Model. I love Dutch angles, as you
Hmm.
well know.
Hmm.
There are no Dutch angles in Blood Model, not a single one, because I feel like it's sort of like I'm trying to test myself, like
Yeah.
challenge myself. Like, can I do something that's not in my comfort zone, but still do it well? Because we have all these talented people on board helping get to sort of like the vision. This is the first time it's actually literally like a vision of what I want from shot one to the final shot of the movie, because the two shots at the beginning and at the end mirror each other. They're the exact same shot but in different locations, and I've got this whole thing sort of planned out in my mind. It's the first time I've ever done anything like this. I'm like, wow, let's see if this goes well.
Awesome.
Maybe I will want to do more of these in the future.
Yeah, maybe.
So, but yeah, so interesting. I mean, is there anything else you want to add about either film that we haven't covered?
Let's see. I'm just kind of, I don't know. I'm just really lucky about how Skeleton Dance is coming along. It's just the musical talent that's coming along is just, I couldn't be more happy with what we have there. We have a guy, his name's John Alton, and he's worked with a lot of the members of his band are Grammy Award winning artists. He's sending me a cut for a couple of scenes that are being produced in studio by, let me think. No, it went right out of my head. Um, I'll get back to that. Anyway, another Grammy Award winning person. Anyway, but people are gravitating to this story and want to be a part of it, just even based on some of the images that we have put out, and they feel like they want to be a part of it. And so I'm so thankful that music's coming from him. Our title, our credits, the song is Mad World. Obviously, everybody knows that from Donnie Darko. But we have a female artist who recorded the version of that, and then we were able to get the rights to that. And she's from Finland. Or not Finland. Yeah,
Awesome.
Finland. And so it's just really cool how things are starting to. It's kind of got, I don't know, like not a mind of its own, but it's just kind of reaching out and grabbing people and pulling them in, and people are wanting to be a part of it. New people I don't even know or have ever even met. And so the talent that's coming together to this is really well. Our actors were all amazing. What's really cool is Heather's daughter, Kaylee. I thought of her right away when I read the script. And when I talked to Lisa and told her, hey, I was talking to Heather, I'm sorry, Kaylee's mom, Heather Waite, and said, I got this story, and I really thought of Kaylee right away as the lead. And she's like, I think she even said, is it Skeleton Dance? Because Lisa wrote it and thought of Kaylee the whole time she was writing it. So that was kind of a cool thing that came together, and we cast
Awesome.
her as the lead. And gosh, she did amazing. Such amazing little actress, and she put up with everything we put her through. I mean, I'm not going to say she whined, because she didn't whine, but the times that she did get a little crabby on set, she absolutely had every right to be. We had her walking barefoot in the middle of the night on not a gravel road, but a rock road, a road completely, just giant chunks of rock that she was walking on. And I couldn't tell you how many fried eggs she had to eat and how much gross, disgusting food we were feeding her.
Oh, that girl's a trooper. I remember being on the set of Remission, just the scenes that she was on there and some of the stuff she had to do, and she was a trooper the whole way through.
Yeah, she's awesome. Like, there was one scene where, and I'm not ruining anything, but it was supposed to be this god-awful looking stew. And I remember it was like, beef stew, but I also needed it to be a certain color and tone, so I bought some brown gravy in a can and mixed it together, and it had like sausage in it and just gross, all kinds of shit. And we mixed it all together, and it just looked awful. And that was cooking in a pot, and we were going to film that being dished into a bowl. And then I was going to bring in like alphabet soup for hers, the scenes where she had to actually eat something. Trying to be a nice guy, and God, the scene started, and she dove right in and was eating this horrible gravy sausage meat, just awful thing. And she just, no big deal. She did it, and we made her run around in her underwear, and she's good with everything. It was awesome.
Awesome. Well, like I said, I can't wait to see it, and I'm not going to see it until October 8th at
Right.
8:45, 9-ish, whatever time it actually screens, because I want to be surprised and I want to be wowed, and I know you're super, super talented, and each one of your films gets better and better, so
Thanks.
I'm definitely looking forward to Skeleton Dance and Walk a Mile. And you can see both of those at the Prairie Lights Film Festival. Go to prairielightsfilmfest.com. Order your weekend pass right now. Benito will be there. He'll sign stuff. And I think you're going to have something on the Prairie Light sampler, right? I think Walk a Mile is supposed to be on the
Yeah, that'll be
the
on there
DVD
too.
sampler.
We haven't even edited that. That'll be our next project, and we didn't want to try to do two at once. We want to give each one its time and space, and
Right.
get it done correctly. So,
So just a quick few things before we wrap up here. I will point out that I do want to congratulate a brand new actor who has been brought onto the cast of Blood Model, which is a Prairie Lights production joint. Nick LeMay will be taking over the role that Mark Popejoy was going to play, the character of John. Mark has had to bow out of the role, shall we say, and Nick LeMay has taken over that slot. So congratulations to him. I'm looking forward to working with him. Sorry, Mark. Yeah, and he's still part of the Blood Model production. He's still producer. He's still crewing. He's still, raising all the funds for it. Mark is one of the best local filmmaker crew people around here. So anybody listening out there, if you're a filmmaker who's just thinking about starting a film and you don't know where to start, Mark Popejoy would be the first person I would go to.
sorry, my
Is that
phone's
Darth Vader? Darth Vader's coming? But
Sorry,
yeah,
Darth Vader just walked in.
Mark
Hello?
Popejoy would be the guy to go to. So definitely hook up with him on Facebook. You can find him. He's friends with Benito and I. Find him on Facebook somewhere. He'd be more than happy to talk to you about that stuff. God, there was something else I was going to say as well, but shit, I don't remember what it was. We are going to be interviewing, God, I think it's Dorothy and Chad is coming up next. So that'll be on the next episode. Hopefully Josh is back by then.
Awesome.
We'll see, but they're going to be talking about Kiss a Fella, which is another of the noir anthology that's going to be screening, which just based on the screenshots I saw of that, I'm just like, oh my God, it looks so good.
I agree. I cannot wait to see that. I'm so
oh.
impressed with their work.
Oh, for sure. And what's cool about this is I love seeing filmmakers who just seem to get better and better and better each time that they make things. One of the reasons why, one of the points of these anthology projects, whether it's Flatwater Terrors or it's the Noir anthology this year, is to give local filmmakers, sometimes you just need a script or sometimes you just need content, because sometimes it can be kind of difficult to come up with content on your own and sit down and write a full script. And sometimes, if someone just hands you something that you really like go to town on it. And you can experiment and do all sorts of stuff. I think Chad was telling me that this was, they'd never quite done anything like this. So this is like an experiment and help them grow as filmmakers as well. And that's what these anthology projects are all about. It's to get local filmmakers here making movies, whether it's first-time filmmakers or seasoned veterans, and, expanding their horizons a bit. Let them try. Let you try stuff. Not everything might work all the time, but that just helps you grow for the next film that you do. So that's kind of the main point of these anthology projects. And I'm glad so many filmmakers have jumped on board and are interested in doing these, because I think it's awesome to see all these things.
Well, a lot of times what happens too is you think in your mind, you want to make, even if you just want to make a short anything, and you're like, cool, I want to shoot this thing, but who's going to see it? Am I going to show it to
Yep.
my 5 friends, and we're going to sit around the living room, and then that's the end of it, and then it just goes away. So Prairie Lights is awesome because, one, you feel like you're big time because you're shown in a theater on a big screen. You're there in front of people who want to see these films, and then and the feedback's amazing. It's just everything is good about Prairie Lights as far as if you want to make a film.
Yeah, and one of the big things with me is when I shot my first film, The Grand Horror, I actually filmed it at the Grand Theater back in 2005 before they restored it. They had just purchased the theater. Consortium of local business leaders down there had just bought this theater, and they're like, hey, yeah, live here for a whole summer and make your movie. That's cool. And then when we finally finished the movie and we screened it there, and we literally had a packed house, that it was literally like sold out. And I remembered just thinking to myself, in the Grand Horror is just a shitty movie. I mean, it's not a good movie by any means whatsoever. But the entire theater they were so happy. Everybody there was so excited. They were laughing at the jokes. They were screaming during the gore effects and stuff like that. And I remember distinctly, this was back in 2006, I think is when that screened. I remember distinctly standing in the theater while all this was happening. I was like, every filmmaker, no matter the budget, everybody deserves to have their film screened in a theater like this.
Mm-hmm.
Because one thing is, like, we are moving to a day and age. It won't be too far down the road where theaters are not going to be a big thing anymore. It's going to be your home theater system, sitting at home on your big screen, watching movies on your television or on your computer. And you're going to start losing that experience of everyone going out to an actual movie theater and sitting there and watching it on a humongous screen with amazing sound quality in a room packed with other people. And I want to give as many people, as many local filmmakers, that opportunity. Even if it's the only film of theirs that's ever screened on a movie theater, at least they got that opportunity, and I feel it's sort of like a right for filmmakers in my mind. So
yeah, that's awesome.
We try to bring that to as many people as we can with Prairie Lights, and it's only growing. So next year, year 5, we'll do something even bigger and better. So, and other than that, don't forget, July 29th at 9 p.m. in La Vista. That right? Yeah, it's a suburb of Omaha, right? La Vista.
Yeah.
At the Alamo Drafthouse, Flatwater Terrors Volume 1, the Blu-ray release party. All the filmmakers will be there signing your Blu-rays, doing the Q&As. There'll be 6 short films. You can go to Alamo Drafthouse website right now to the La Vista Omaha one, and then you can actually order your tickets. All proceeds from the Blu-ray sales will go to Nebraska Independent Film Projects as well as Eastern Nebraska Film Office. And I have Heather Waite did these really awesome posters, digital posters for the actual event, and I went ahead and just bought a bunch of 11 by 17 posters of them, and I'm just going to give them away to anybody who shows up. So you'll get a free poster for just attending this thing, and you'll get to see a lot of cool films and support a lot of great filmmakers and local film organizations here. So with that, I think I'm done. I think you're done, Benito.
I'm done.
It was great having you. This is a great conversation.
Yeah, it was fun. I'm glad we got to sit down and talk. Usually there's a ton of people around, and we're all talking about 20 different things. So it was. Yeah. I appreciate the opportunity to sit down and talk with you.
Yeah, I hope that when I hang up, the Power Grandma actually recorded it.
I hope so.
Because I'll cry. I'll just quit. I'll just quit Prairie Lights if this happens again. So. But cool. All right. Well, thanks for listening, everyone, and we will talk to you next week.